welcome to the Raising Kellan Podcast. My name is Marsh Naidu, and I blog at raisingkellan.org, where we curate resources for families experiencing disabilities. On today's episode, I chat with Steve Chatman from Rising Above Ministries. So grab that cup of coffee, put your feet up, and get ready for some awesome conversation. Steve, welcome to the Raising Kellan Podcast.
Well, thank you. It is. I'm thrilled to be here. This is an honor for sure.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background, sir, as well as your journey into ministry?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a Tennessee native, lived here all my life, grew up in East Tennessee, had a wonderful family, and just never, I wanted to be an attorney. That was sort of my early goal, but the Lord had different plans for me. And out of college, I ended up working in a group home for kids, and just really had a heart. I've always had a heart for helping others. And so that's just I've spent the past 30 years really in ministry. I've done camp ministry for underprivileged children. I've been a youth pastor. The last 20 years I've spent as a family pastor at a local church here in Cookeville. And that's how I came in contact with Rising Above Ministries. After I got married, my wife and I, we have 5 children, and 2 of our girls have special needs. And so we got involved with Rising Above, just attending, and the founding couple, the husband, Jeff, was actually on staff with me at our church. And so we started a special needs ministry at our church. Jeff passed away about 7 years ago. And so his wife kind of took over leading the ministry, and she would reach out to me a lot just for like the men's parts of it that Jeff would have normally done. She's like, "Hey, Steve, could you lead this for us?" And I was always happy to do that. And then 3 years ago, they came to me and said, "Steve, would you ever think about joining our ministry full time?" And it was just perfect timing. My season was kind of coming to an end at the church. I knew that. And I said, I would love to. And so here I am with Rising Above Ministry. So it's been 3 years now that I've been with Rising Above full time, and I'm just absolutely loving it.
I mean, you guys offer a whole plethora of resources for families like ours. And so I highly encourage you to look at the website. That's risingaboveministries.org. You guys have some innovative stuff coming up. So I'm just going to quickly talk about, if you don't mind chatting about Base Camp. And then we could head into any other direction that you would like to go.
Yeah. Well, Base Camp, so we do 2 annual events, one for moms in June called By the Brook, and then we do Base Camp in the fall. And Base Camp is basically just a weekend retreat for dads who are caring for individuals with disabilities. And we have dads who are young dads who have young children, and they're very early in their journey. And we have guys in their 60s and 70s who have grown kids that they're still caring for, because, that's our life. We care for these kids, for the rest of our lives. So we have dads of all age groups. We have dads literally from all parts of the country. The last 3 years, we've had dads from, I think, about 16 different states have come to Middle Tennessee for our annual retreat. And it's just a wonderful weekend. It's a very laid-back experience. We have some sessions where we have some speakers, and these are all special needs dads themselves. So they're not just experts, but they're practitioners. They're living the life. And then we have good food and a lot of fun things. We have campfires in the evening where guys just sit around and share their stories. We have some fun things as well. We do some skeet and trap shooting, and we've made knives before. I have a friend who's he's a blacksmith, and so he came and brought, and these guys are out there banging on metal and forging knives, and just a lot of stuff like that. But it's ultimately we're creating a safe place for these dads to come and just spend a weekend with other guys who absolutely get it. They don't have to explain anything. It's like we understand. And these dads have a lot going on. And a lot of the attention goes to moms, and rightly so. Moms are, especially these moms, are unbelievable, and you know that you live that life, right? I'm married to one, so they are unbelievable. But dads, we're not as open. We tend to hold things in. But we found if you give dads a safe space, if you put them around a campfire, dads will open up. And it gives them a safe place to do that. And that's what base camp is all about. And it's just a fantastic weekend. It really is.
You're right. I think like as moms, we kind of get our strength from talking to other moms that might be sharing a similar experience. And dads might at times not be as vocal, but I'm just like curious from a mom standpoint of view, what would be my encouragement, or how do wives go about letting their husbands know, hey, hon, it's okay for you to see about yourself? How would that happen?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. I actually do. I have a breakout session when I go to conferences and even actually at our annual Moms Retreat, I do this little session, and it's called Things That Special Needs Dads Are Dealing With But Probably Won't Tell You. And the moms love it because it's a husband and a dad saying, here's just some things that are going on with us as men. And we're so very different. I mean, you're so right. Moms and dads, we're just very different. We process things differently. One thing I would say for moms is, one thing I always say is don't run too far ahead of us. Moms usually dive right in a lot faster than dads and just accept, hey, this is our situation. And you guys you're researching, you're Googling, you're everywhere, you're asking questions, you're opening up. You're usually the ones going to the therapies. You're usually the ones going to the doctor's appointments, going to the IEP meetings. And so your understanding of the diagnosis very quickly grows faster than your husband's typically. Now that's typically. And here's something that wives need to understand. As men, we do not like to feel or appear incompetent. And when our wives are learning all this stuff and they just suddenly start telling us all this stuff about our child's diagnosis and all these things, we suddenly feel incompetent, like, I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. And we're not comfortable in that situation. So what you'll typically see dads do is we sort of divide and conquer and say, well, you seem to know everything about that, and I don't feel comfortable talking intellectually about that. So I'm going to go out and mow the yard, or I'm going to make sure that the bills are paid, or whatever. We throw ourselves into what we feel knowledgeable about. So I say to wives, be careful that you keep doing what you do, because you're tremendous researchers about that. So keep searching, keep doing all that, but make sure you bring us along, and don't overwhelm us though, because it's like, if say, hey, how did that new therapy session go? Here's a tip I say for wives. We don't need to know about the waiting room. We don't need to know necessarily who you ran into, or just give us the facts. Guys like shows like Sports Center because it gives you a 30-minute just overview of all the day's sports. So give us that overview. You don't have to go into too many details because we really can't process that. We just process differently. But give us the essential information and just kind of bring us along with you. Because I think sometimes wives get frustrated and they just say, you know what, I'm just gonna move forward, and they just really kind of stop including the dad, and we just get further and further behind. And so I don't know if that makes sense, but it just kind of makes sense. That divide just keeps growing, and so I just always say, bring us along, and always invite us to the therapies, to the doctor's appointments, to the IEP meetings. And when I speak to dads, I challenge and encourage dads, hey, I know sometimes you're working, I know sometimes scheduling, but as much as you can, go to these things yourself. And I tell them the same thing. I say, because guys, we don't like feeling incompetent. We don't like feeling like we don't know. So we got to do something about that. Educate yourself. Go to the IEP meeting. Sit in. But that's I guess that would be one thing I would just say is just to recognize it's not all your husband's distance. That it may seem like he isn't interested. Honestly, maybe he feels inferior and he feels incompetent about your child and their diagnosis, and so he just sort of retreats to something he's comfortable with. So the more you can do, just again, little small chunks. And I'm not maligning men and saying we're dumb and we can't.
Oh no, no,
I'm
not
just
at all.
saying,
Yeah,
I'm just saying we process differently and sometimes slower. And so, but just as much as you can, bring us along on that journey. And even if, and sometimes dad isn't ready and sometimes dad's still struggling, but continue to invite him. Even if he constantly says, no, I'm busy, just keep inviting him. Hey, would you like to go to this doctor's appointment? We've got a new therapy we're meeting with. We've got an IEP. Would you like to go? Just keep inviting him so that he knows, hey, I want you to be a part of this with me.
Okay. I like sometimes just as a point, once a week or every 2 weeks, it's like, hey, these are the appointments that we kind of doing this week, and just want to let you know and maybe let you know some of the outcomes that are there. And you're right, it is overwhelming. And Steve, if you as a wife, when you
Sure.
are tired perhaps and need a break, what is the best way to kind of communicate that so that the house is still running, what needs to be done needs
Yes.
to be done. How do you carve out a space for the individual? You know what I mean? To have some of that respite, to have some of that rest. And that's another question I really want to talk about is respite as well. But I mean, how would you say that in a way that's not being on the offense or
Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's a great question. I think husbands and wives, we have to learn to communicate. And I tell my wife this, and I'll always tell her, it's like, I need you to tell me what you need because I want to meet those needs. I want to respond correctly. I learned early on in our marriage relationship. I remember before we even had kids, my wife would come home. We were both working, and she would come home and she would just start unpacking her day and telling me in the frustrations. And I'm sitting there, she's on the couch, and I'm standing in the kitchen and I'm listening. And she's just, unpacking some coworker issues. And when she's done, I would immediately be like, well, honey, here's what you need to do tomorrow. And I would share that story in marriage conferences, and I would ask the wives, I would say, now, wives, is that what my wife wanted me to do? And everybody's laughing, and they're like, absolutely not. I'm like, well, no, what does she want? She wanted me to come sit on the couch beside her, maybe put my arm around her, hold her hand, and just say, babe, that really sounds tough. And there may come a point, because my mind as men, we are fixers, okay? You start presenting us with a problem or a situation, we immediately start thinking, how can I fix this for you? But our wives typically are wanting, I just need you to kind of be in this with me for a minute. I'm interested in your counsel, but right now I just need to know that you heard me and that you're with me. So I learned early on, we're just different and we process differently. So I would always tell my wife, I need you to tell me, how do you need me to respond when you are feeling like this or when you're doing this? And she used to laugh and she would say, well, if I have to tell you what to do, it doesn't count. And I was like, it absolutely counts because I just don't know. And I need you to know I want to do that. I'm just a dumb guy. I mean, that's a stereotype, obviously, but I don't think like you. So please tell me, because that's how I do want to, because I may be trying to serve you, but doing something that you just really don't need. And so communication is so important. I tell husbands and wives, we've got to let each other know what you need. Wives, and it's hard. Listen, I get it. It can be hard when we've got the chaos oftentimes of just family life, and then you throw special needs and disabilities in there, and we get it. I mean, that just takes it to another level. But we've got to make time. I tell couples this: if listen, every couple, I don't care what your situation is, you can find 30 minutes a week. 30 minutes a week. It may be in 2 pockets of 15 minutes, 3 pockets of 10 minutes, but you can find some time to just talk and say, hey, let's quickly look at our schedule. Just like you were saying, kind of laying it, let's just quickly look at our week. What can we do? And that's a time to say, hey, hon, I need you. I need an hour this week. I'm drowning. I'm overwhelmed. Can you give me an hour? And I think if we can learn to communicate that with each other, and because listen, we get it as special needs parents, the respite, which is so needed, sometimes we have to provide it for one another, because sometimes our church just isn't there yet, or there's not a Rising Above Ministries in our community, and sometimes we just have to kind of provide it for each other. And so if we can do that, just to say, hey, I've got this for right now, because like you said, the home has to keep going, and our children have to be attended to. So I just think we've got to communicate with each other and not make assumptions. Don't assume what your wife, dads, don't assume you know what your wife needs, and wives, don't assume you know what we need. But let's just be willing to be open and communicate that, so that we can know. Listen, I always tell, we don't have time to waste, right? I mean, our lives are full. We don't have time to waste to play games. We just got to be direct and communicate with each other.
Steve, thank you for tying in respite to what you just said. I want to talk about Rising Above Dads. How did the podcast come about? You guys seem to have such a good chemistry, and so really encouraging moms that are listening to this podcast to let their husbands know about Rising Above Dads. So just give us a little bit rundown on the podcast.
Yeah. Well, thanks for asking about it. It has been so much fun. We have actually Becky's been on me to do this really since I came on board. She's like, because we have Rising Above with Becky Davidson, and it's a fantastic podcast. And she typically interviews parents and experts in the field and stuff. And it's a great podcast. But she's been on me. She's like, we need a podcast for dads, just for dads. And so we've been in the process, really probably of a couple of years, bringing this about. And so we last year, actually, at our fundraising banquet, we cast the vision for it, and we had a donor step up and say, I want to pay for that podcast to make it happen. And so that kind of, pushed us a little bit more. And then I just met a couple of guys. There was actually one of the dads that's on the podcast was at the banquet itself, and he came up and he said, man, if I can do anything, let me know. So I started sitting down with these 2 guys, with Dustin and Daniel, and really just kind of seeing, do we have chemistry, or do we, because I think that's important. Yeah. And we did. And so we started just this past year. We've just finished season 1 back in the spring, and there's 11 episodes, and it's out there. We're actually going into the studio in a couple of weeks to start season 2. And that's kind of how we do it. We do it in seasons, and there's about 10 to 12 episodes in each season. It's really, I tell people, it's 3 guys, and we are dads. We are special needs dads. We have children with disabilities. And we're not experts, we're practitioners, and it is a conversation between 3 guys, and we just invite other dads and moms. It's great for moms, because you really kind of can get some insights into how your husband's brain works, as it's raw and it's real. We don't always solve every situation at the end of the episode, but that's okay, because that's our life. We just talk about this. Season 2 that we're getting ready to record, we are going to bring in a few more guests this time, and we're really talking about our relationships. Our relationships with our spouse, our relationship with our special needs child, and our relationship with our neurotypical kids. We're going to talk about our friendships, our relationship with our church, with community leaders. So it's going to be a lot of fun bringing folks in. But yeah, it's just a space for dads, to listen and hopefully to be encouraged, and also maybe to be validated. Hey, in that some of the things you're thinking and feeling, it's real.
Yeah.
and we just can be honest about it, and and it's okay. And we laughed when we started it. We're like, maybe hopefully we'll get 10 listeners, and that'll be great. But I think at the end of season 1, I mean, we had, I think, close to 700 downloads, which is, that's not huge in podcast realms, but for us, we were just like,
Yes.
man, because every one of those downloads listens, that represents a dad or a mom that tuned in and hopefully was encouraged, was validated. Maybe a wife was able to gain some insights into maybe how to better relate with her husband. And but it's a lot of fun. We say it's a great combination of just some humor and some guys being silly guys, but then also really going deep and just really being raw. There's emotion in it a lot of times. But then a lot of practical stuff too, because again, guys, we're fixers. We like, give us tools, so it's a lot of fun. I just encourage folks, give it a listen, and, especially dads, but also moms, because maybe hopefully it'll help you have a little insight into the way your husband processes the world.
Steve, you have been amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. All the best with your dinner, your fundraising dinner that's coming up on Friday,
Yes, thank you.
well as base camp. Wishing the dads just have the best time ever. And,
Yes.
look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Yeah, Marsh, thank you so much. It has been so much fun it was so neat meeting you at that ministry fair, and it's just been great talking to you today, and appreciate what you're doing too. I love your story, and just what you were doing, and you're such an encourager. That's what I really enjoy talking to you about, and so thanks so much for having me.
Oh, always, Steve. Thank you for listening along to the podcast today. You may want to check out episode 146, in which I interviewed Steve at the Putnam County Resource Fair. As always, we would appreciate a rate and review of this episode on your podcast platform. Until the next time, as always, remember, get to the top of your mountain. This is Marsh Naidu signing off.